Happy Peruvian Independence Day, everybody. It is the Monday episode of Section 1904. We're getting the week rolling. We have a trade deadline coming up a little later this week. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Really is Peruvian Independence Day, by the way. Do have some Peruvian neighbors who pointed that out yesterday while we were celebrating with some cervezas and some ceviche. So shout out to Moises and Rocio. John, hope you had a good weekend. How's things?
Things are good. It was a good weekend. Nothing to write home about. Nothing special or fantastic. But there was some time spent in the pool. There was some time watching baseball. I went on a long bike ride and didn't fall or die. Lots of good coming out of this weekend.
All right, good. Glad to hear it. Had the in-laws in town, so since I'm recording from home, you might hear a little bit of chaos going on in the background. Got mother-in-law, father-in-law, and Pomeranian in the house. And you never know. Pomeranian could get a little wound up and could start barking at any minute. So just in case anybody's listening to this, wondering if there's been a new addition to the family, no. That is just the circumstances here for about a week and a half, something like that. So, but they're up early, doing all sorts of fun stuff. Cleaning, fixing, pruning, you name it. Anything with an ing at the end of it. Ken and Joyce are into it. So
can I? That was a dangerous sentence you just said there. Can I ask a dangerous question?
Sure.
I judge people who take their animals on vacation with them if it requires a flight. Did they drive or did they fly?
Fly.
Ugh. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be so judgmental, but don't put the dog through that, man.
Dog's pretty good, actually, from what I understand, but not a lot of great alternatives of leaving the dog behind. So
That's
much
fair.
better to bring Sadie to the beach and let her run around and all that sort of fun stuff, other than hanging out in Tennessee where it's just hot and humid and all that. I don't know that the alternatives other than boarding exist there. So I don't know how comfortable. Plus service animal. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So and a good dog, as I understand it, travels very well. So that's a positive, I think.
Okay.
So maybe an excuse to your normal default position of being judgmental about such
service
things.
Animal is a different thing.
Yes. Okay. Is that all I needed to say?
That's all you needed to say. Service animal is a different thing.
All right. I was logging on today and I accidentally stumbled into the Section 1904, just the search engine result. And I saw that a couple of more reviews have been added. So thank you again. We're still operating at 5 stars. Mondays are totally unlocked. They're free for everybody. So this isn't just the free preview, but the Monday episodes are completely unlocked. So if you're listening to this for the first time, maybe consider supporting it. We do this 5 days a week at least. We offer you the daily newsletter Monday through Friday. It's called The Front Row Seat. Gets delivered right there to your inbox. Tells you all the headlines from the top stories of the day. I'm in sports, and I will tell you that this is beneficial to me because sometimes you wake up and life is a little bit chaotic and you go, oh, okay, I missed that. I didn't know that fill in the blank was happening. So it's easy to do, especially if you're focused, let's say, singularly this week on the Padres hosting the Mets and the Cardinals. The trade deadline's coming up on Thursday. This is just a good way for you to be in the loop on whatever it is that's happening in sports. We do have a Discord channel. We are going to get to a Q&A, a little bit of a Q&A mailbag on Wednesday, I think is what we're planning here. We have a TikTok account. We have an Instagram account. We have an X account. We have a Blue Sky account. John just posted on the Discord channel today that we have a YouTube channel, so be on the lookout for that. It's not active, at least as of yet. So there's all sorts of stuff happening here. People keep asking about merch, and we keep saying, yes, we would love to get some merch going here. We are just waiting. It's taken a little bit longer than I would have anticipated. We are, how can I say this without giving it up? We are hoping that we can collaborate with somebody locally who can do some fine tuning on the Section 1904 logo that will look better on merch than the current logo. I think that's about as far as I want to go with that one. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I've actually, I'll go so far as to say, once we started talking with someone about refining our logo, was the point at which I stopped any progress as far as, getting stickers made or shirts made or anything like that. I was like, I'm going to wait until we have something that we feel is going to be lasting a little bit longer. Can I pause and redirect us into a total side thing that no one else is going to see except for me? Because this is very quick. So our buddies from Mad Friars, when they travel around from minor league park to minor league park, covering all the minor league affiliates of the San Diego Padres, will occasionally pick up merch for us and send it. And part of this process is while they're looking for merch, they send us pictures and they say, which ones do you want? And we get to pick. It's lovely. It makes me feel special, like a celebrity, like royalty. Are you wearing the shirt that I just picked out the other day? Are we going to be having matching shirts? Does that say Cerveza Baseball? It does. Although that has a different logo at the mine has the flying chunklas. What is that one?
That is I don't know what that is. That is some sort of animal with really, really blue eyes.
Is that a sod poodle?
Could be.
Okay.
But I don't think they are the sod poodles anymore, are they?
No, isn't it the San Antonio Missions are the ones that we're getting merch from, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I will say they are very, very thoughtful and kind of do this. And I do often have to go check my wardrobe to see what I have and what could be added that won't be repetitive.
Well, now I have to make sure that we're never in a situation where we're like wearing the same shirt at the same time. That's why
it's an audio podcast. I don't know
for now,
that
Darren.
That much for now. Yeah. I don't know that we have to worry about that, but if we get to the point where we have to coordinate our outfit, I would suggest to you, John, that's probably a good thing.
That's probably a good thing.
Probably a good thing.
Sorry for the sidetrack.
Yeah, and I also would think that if you and I are the ones that see this because we film on a program called Riverside, so we can see ourselves every day. Some of that nonverbal cueing, and I would say that I don't know, 4 days out of 5 at least, I'm wearing something that came from our friends at Mad Friars. I would say 4 days out of 5 at the least. So not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
That's great.
Do appreciate that as well. All right. So also of note, I'm going to be missing a couple of days at the end of this week or going on a vacation. One of the benefits of having a successful wife is that she wins incentives and incentive trips and all expenses paid incentive trips to Cancun. So I'm going to be accompanying her a little later this week to Cancun for a few days. So I will just point that out now.
Rough life.
Yeah, it's tough. I know. I think I could use a little bit of a break, but that might interfere with our analysis of the trade deadline. Although I will certainly not go completely off grid, and will be available. And it's a good time for me to go because we don't have any radio broadcast for SDFC. We are not broadcasting Leagues Cup, which starts Tuesday night at Snapdragon Stadium. And then there's 2 other matches. So we're not going to do any of those. We're going dark with the midweek show. So this is a good opportunity for me to just check out for a few days. Our next radio broadcast, I don't think is till August 9th, if you can believe it. 9 games to go during the MLS regular season. So only 3 of those at Snapdragon Stadium. Those are regular season matches, not Leagues Cup matches. So those are totally different competitions, but not a ton of opportunity, we don't think, to see SDFC here. Obviously, in line for a playoff spot, hopefully hosting playoff games. That would be nice. I don't know what the calendar looks like for Snapdragon Stadium. If anybody anticipated that, if they thought, well, yeah, we could go ahead and just book a bunch of concerts for October and November, all of a sudden SDFC is going to win the Western Conference and host throughout. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to check the calendar and find out what's what if there's any conflicts heading our way someplace in October, November. But you got to get there first. And it was a good step on Saturday night, which we could talk about. But I think, John, probably best to start with the Padres. It's going to be a pretty busy week. Padres are 5-5 on the road. And I guess, that sums up the Padres, doesn't it? 5-5 on the road. Was thinking about this yesterday. The Padres won the final 2 games of the road trip to get to 5-5. If they had lost the final 2 games to get to 5-5, I think people would be angry and ready to burn this down. As it is now, I get the sense people aren't over the moon about where the Padres are. The week of the trade deadline, they're wondering why there has been why there's been just no activity. How come the Padres aren't addressing? If I have to see this poking AJ Preller with a stick meme one more time, we have Manny Machado who's deleting his Instagram account. Pour one out for Manny's Instagram account. What the actual reason is open to interpretation, I think, and you and I can talk about that. But 5-5, it does feel like the losses for a team that currently is in a playoff position. It does feel like the losses weigh a little bit more than the wins. Does that make sense? It feels like the losses feel worse than the wins feel good. For a team in a playoff position, that normally wouldn't be the case because you're not only playing against the competition, you're also playing against the schedule, right? Like you're trying to get to the finish line here. If you're a team that's been out of a playoff spot and you're just treading water going 500, you're like, yeah, this isn't good enough. This isn't going to get us where we need to be. But for a team that currently is in a playoff position, even if it's a slim margin, it just, oh man, it does feel like those losses. I don't know. Maybe it's just me being a victim of social media and the Discord channel, but it does feel like the losses definitely elicit stronger reaction than any of the wins make people feel good.
I mean, I think that's just because of where they sit in the standings, right? They're in the very last spot, very last wild card spot to get into the postseason. So every loss feels like, oh, here we go. They're going to fall out of playoff position. All the wheels are going to fall off. It's the beginning of the end. And the wins never feel like, okay, they got some steam now. Watch out for the Padres. They're coming for first place. The Dodgers should be scared, right? It just feels like they've been hovering at that place where they're like almost a bad team all year long, but somehow finding a way to win about half their games. Now with this one, I love this phrase, and I've been using it a lot lately, especially when it comes to the Padres, that expectations are the thief of joy. And it works both ways, but the Padres had lost 4 straight games, including 2 to the Miami Marlins, who are not a good baseball team. And I think that's the point where everyone was like, man, they can't even win a freaking game. They can't even win one of these games. And then they hold on and they beat the Cardinals on Saturday. And it's like, okay, fine. They won a game, but can they just win one easy one ever? Do we always have to rely on the bullpen to carry us for the last 4 or 5 innings of every game? Can they just have one laugher? And then you got it on Sunday. And everyone's like, well, okay, fine. Like, they gave me the win. They gave me the laugher. Like, I guess we'll see what they do against the Mets. But, like, it doesn't feel like they're building anything that has any sort of foundation to consistently move forward. It just feels like they're scrapping and clawing. The grit squad is making sure that they hold on to that last spot to go into the playoffs. But even that, like the scratching and clawing to hold on to the last spot doesn't give you a lot of hope that this is a team that we're going to remember many years from now. This doesn't give you hope that they're going to get to the playoffs and they're going to be this dominant, awesome team. It doesn't give you hope that they're going to beat a good team like the Dodgers the next time they face them, or the Mets, who I think have won 7 straight games. So until the Padres give you that reason to believe that they could be that kind of team, and they really haven't since like May, I think every loss is going to feel a lot worse than every win is going to feel good.
According to Fangraphs, it's 50.9% for the Padres to make the postseason. So a little bit down from where we were a week ago. I think we do this on Mondays. I think Mondays are officially our standings day here on Section 1904. But you just said hovering around 500. Is that what 57 and 49 is? Well, I could argue that the Marlins are more hovering around 500 than the Padres. Marlins are 50 and 54.
Of course, but what is the
We're not talking about losing 2 out of 3 to the Rockies here, where you're like, God, what a disaster.
What's the Padres' record over the last 3 months? I bet it's about 500.
Which is why a 5-5 road trip's like, yeah, it's kind of who they are, isn't it? It kind of is what the Padres have become. So, that's what we're used to, I guess. And this is just a product of a long baseball season where there haven't been too many highs other than the opening couple of weeks of the regular season, or even for that matter, too many severe lows. It just kind of has been middle of the road, right? Yeah. Which is kind of how baseball seasons go. We haven't seen the team kick into a gear like we saw it last year. Is that, you just said expectation is the thief of joy? Was there an expectation that this was just going to kick into a totally different gear in the second half just because second half Schilt has become a thing at the Union Tribune? I don't know. So, or because people are anticipating that there's going to be some players that are being brought into the mix. Do other variables count? Like Dylan Cease is mostly stunk and Michael King's been unavailable and Yu Darvish hasn't been around. Yeah, I guess there's just a bunch of different ways to look at it. And I think that's the interesting thing about the Padres. You and I were texting over the weekend. It's one thing that I asked Dylan, letters to AJ on social media. I said, how do you prioritize? What do you rank their needs when it comes to the trade deadline? And he rattled off 4 or 5 different things. I don't think he mentioned starting pitching, whereas I look at it and go, I think starting pitching. is a priority. So I think you can take reasonable people, smart people can look at this and they see totally different things. When it comes to the team, what it is that they need. I'm not saying they don't need a bat. I just I don't know. Can this offense get me to the postseason? Can this team get to the postseason if it doesn't make a move? No moves at all. I'm telling you right now. I just came back from Friday. I came back from the future. They made no moves. Can this team will it still go to the postseason?
Will it? No. Could it? Yes. It would depend almost entirely on Michael King coming back and being Michael King and healthy. It would depend on Dylan Cease to get on a bit of a hot streak and have, 6 to 10 good starts in a row. And it might depend on Yu Darvish being at least a league average pitcher. Not sure about that one, but it might. The thing that has me worried that I put in the front row seat newsletter this morning, I had back-to-back quotes. One was from Ken Rosenthal, who had a quote from a National League executive, anonymous source, said of A.J. Preller and the Padres that they don't really have the money or the farm system for big additions. And then this one was in Kevin Acey's Padres Daily this morning. He said Preller would still do well to add a starting pitcher and possibly another high-leverage reliever, though that might take his best trade deadline maneuvering ever, given that he doesn't have much money, if any, to spend. So it's kind of back to what we were talking about last week, where it's like, I think you said in a text message, they have so many needs that it might be time to look at them and be like, I don't know, are you really a contender if you need like 5 different things heading into the deadline? And the biggest problem with all of that is this thing where apparently AJ Preller can't spend money to go get the things that the team needs, which, I guess makes sense when your payroll is already so large. But yeah, it's gonna be an interesting week for Padres.
That's interesting because obviously I think if there's one person who would find himself mostly in the crosshairs, you would say it's AJ Preller, right? You just extended Mike Schilt, so there's no. If this thing comes up short, it's not like anybody's going to go, "Hey, Schilt, it ain't working here. You got to bounce this bum out of town." Eric Grupner probably isn't going anywhere. It's a new owner, even though we never hear from this owner. He did his thing at the beginning of the year. I know he's been spotted around the ballpark, and by all accounts, from people that bump into him, they say he's a nice guy. Wonderful, great,
sure,
okay, whatever.
Yeah,
but it does become an interesting like conversation about the future of this team and what may or may not become of its president of baseball operations when you're starting to see those kind of reports from Kevin Acey and from Ken Rosenthal that we're not going to give him any ability to add to this. So if it does come up short, who is that on? Is that on the general manager, or is that on the people that will not give him the resources to go ahead and try to improve this team? Or do you say, hey, listen, you made your bed. We've given you the resources. How much more do you want? We're the Padres. We don't even have a television deal. How much more money do you want from us? Peter's not here anymore. Peter would have done that, which I think is an interesting angle to take when you talk about Preller. But, that being said, it is part of the conversation. If this team comes up short, how much of that falls on Preller if he's looking to add and they won't give him the tools to add? That will be an interesting conversation at the end of the regular season or even in the postseason if it's not a long run, don't you think?
Yeah, but also, it's you can't just be like Preller didn't get the purse strings to make the deals he wanted to make. Well, why is that? It's because he made the decisions to sign Xander Bogaerts to a big deal and sign.
Did he though? Or has that story kind of been suggested that was maybe a little bit more the influence of Peter Seidler?
I mean, maybe, but Peter's not here to fight back, and no one's really gonna give you what's true and what's not there. But
I think it was said while Peter was alive. I think there used to be a radio and show in town that used to suggest that was an awful lot of Peter Seidler.
The Xander Bogaerts. What about the Yu Darvish extension? The Manny Machado extension. I
think that was on Peter.
That was probably on Peter. I mean, here's the interesting thing is that it's a new owner.
Peter bragged about that one, by the way, the Manny Machado one.
The extension or the original signing?
The extension.
Yeah,
both.
I think I remember that. The interesting thing is that, there's, I don't want to get into the whole CBA lockout part of it as well, but Preller's contract ends basically the time that MLB might start a lockout.
Right. But it ends actually before then, because I don't think you're going to give this guy another season here unless you make a decision on what his future is.
But are you going to hire a new president of baseball ops a year before you might go into a lockout? Or
yeah, why not?
Don't you want to wait and see what the new CBA is going to look like and see if you need to change strategies midstream? I don't know. And then I keep thinking, like, the guy who hired Preller, I know it's technically Peter Seidler and I guess Ron Fowler, but like we heard the stories, it was Mike D, right? It was him and Mike D in an airport hotel lobby at 2 a.m, hashing things out. So it's like if they were to fire Preller, who's hiring his replacement? Grupner? Like John Seidler?
Yeah, probably.
What do they know about baseball?
Well, they know enough, I think, that they feel like they might be setting up the fall guy if this thing comes up short.
But that's my point, is like the guy that's being
What do most owners know about this?
Well, the guy that's being set up as the fall guy seems to be like the only guy in leadership that's really a baseball guy.
Right.
And so if you kick him out, you're left with, that's one of those situations where I feel like they'd have to bring in an advisor to help them hire a new president of baseball operations.
Correct. Although, you and I think that. I don't know if Eric Grupner would think that.
He might not.
He might have an ego that's like, no. I know what I'm doing around here.
Yeah,
I know who I'm going to hire. He might actually be that guy. But if you're not going to, and you just said it, these reports that are there today, and it's not like they're just popping up today, 4 days before the trade deadline, then, you're going to blame that guy, I would think, at the end of the year. And some would say it's valid. He's had a long run here, so I'm not saying he's been treated unfairly. He's been treated fairly, but he was part of a strategy that seemingly has kind of faded out a little bit.
You could say it died, Darren.
It did die.
It died with Peter.
It literally and figuratively died.
Yeah.
And like we just don't know that the people who are in charge now are aligned with this guy to do the things that you have to do in order to continue. You and I were texting over the weekend. It's like when you buy a house, you buy an expensive house and you're, the term is pod committed. You hear it all the time. But like when you spend all this money on a house and somebody's like, yo, you got to do something with that kitchen. Like, you have all this nice place and that kitchen is from the 1970s. You're like, yeah, I'm not going to do anything about that.
Right.
Like you're just hurting your own value. You're not even protecting your own investment. Now, maybe the way they look at it is the ballpark sold out every night. We're announcing sellout after sellout. We have all these other events. People are rocking our merchandise all around town. So from a business standpoint, that is how we define success. But guess what? That is not just the product of clever marketing. That is the product of having interesting players, even if we're growing some fatigue with these players. That is the product of having success, of going to the postseason, of beating the Dodgers. That is the product. It's not just about slick marketing and social media. It also is about having a quality product out there on the baseball field. So I just think it's going to be an interesting couple of months around here. I mean, I guess that's what I'm getting at. And I guess, I guess maybe Manny Machado agrees with us or me. Yeah. Since, we can pour one out for Manny's Instagram account, John. I don't know how closely you were following this development over the weekend.
I only followed I saw someone post that he had liked, I think a post from our former colleague, Scott Kaplan, that said something about, Preller's not being allowed to spend the money, possibly pointing a finger at John Seidler as the reason why he's not being allowed to spend money. And Manny liked that and then got, kind of caught by someone seeing the like and it got posted all over. And then boom, his Instagram account goes down. And I was pointing this out, I don't know, a couple months ago, that there was some player, maybe it was Peralta, one of the guys they had. I don't think it was Solano, but it might have been. It was either Peralta or Solano from last year. Manny Machado a couple months ago was going, we can't find a DH, we can't find a bench bat. Like this guy that we had last year is just sitting at home. Like, just go spend the money, go get him. Like it's not hard. I don't understand why we're not doing it. And now it goes kind of public that Manny's kind of looking around, going, wait, why did we stop spending money? And it all comes back to Peter, right? And look, not to compare the San Diego Padres to Section 1904, but you and I are trying to be very smart in how we invest in this company, right? If we were doing it the Peter Seidler way, we would be taking out credit cards, loading them up with stuff, and being like, "We're just gonna make it better. We're gonna make it better. We're gonna do the best show ever. We'll pay this off later." And then the second the credit card bill comes due, we die. And it's like or one of us dies and leaves the other one in a position to be like, "Okay, make it work now." And it's like, I don't know, maybe the Peter Seidler strategy was a dangerous one. He was the one who was, getting attacked by the rest of Major League Baseball going, "You can't do this in a small market. Like you're setting unrealistic expectations for the rest of us, and you're going to screw yourself. And long term, it's not wise." And he was like, "Nope, I believe in it. It's going to work. I don't care. It's my money. It's not yours. Leave me alone." And now, of course, they're the team in baseball that's like, "Yeah, we would love to add stuff, but we can't spend any more money." And it's just like, yeah, it was very fortunate that we got Peter Seidler as the person running and owning the Padres for as long as we did. But it's entirely possible that his dream of the Padres winning the World Series with this core and this leadership and this front office and all that might have died with him, because I don't know, to your original question a long, long time ago, I don't know that this team is good enough to win a World Series without more money being spent or a bunch of luck. And they have not seemed very lucky so far.
Okay, so a couple follow-ups there. Number one, is that the only measurement of success for the Padres, winning the World Series?
You know what?
Given how close they were last year, is that it?
I don't think so, but that's what I've been fighting with people about for the last
week.
Week.
Playoffs. Go to the playoffs.
I think playoffs is success.
Being in playoff contention until the final week of the regular season.
Meaningful baseball
but
in
missing
September.
out.
Meaningful baseball in September is always my bar. If you're playing meaningful games in September, you have done your job as a baseball organization.
Even with last year's postseason, even with the payroll here, even with guys that are going to walk away in free agency in Arise, Cease, and Michael King. You would say you miss out on the playoffs. You're a game back, 2 games back, end of the regular season. John Gennaro says that was a successful 2025 for me.
Gave yourself a chance.
Okay.
I mean, I've seen enough miracles.
Peter, by the way, wouldn't agree with that. Peter didn't even agree that going to Game 5 of the NLCS was a successful season. I disagree with Peter, but hey, listen, he was the owner of the team. But I think the second part of that is, they all talk about carrying on his legacy, and I guess it's just a bunch of hot air. I mean, if this is the actual reality of it. That deep down everybody sort of saw him as some, irresponsible spender, and now the credit card bill is due and everybody else is going to have to pay the tab and all that sort of stuff. Then don't ever tell me again that what you're trying to do is honor his legacy, because you're not, because that was the way that he saw it. That is the way that he partnered with AJ Preller. They had this vision that was aligned, and Peter would give him the opportunity. Not that Peter never said no. I've been told Peter said no plenty of times to Preller, some of his wacky ideas. But, that Preller would keep coming back and say, well, I have a different concept. Well, I've got this idea, and I've got this idea, and I've got that. And sometimes they would stick and sometimes they would not. But, then just don't ever say that again, that you're out there trying to honor the legacy. If you're not actually willing to, if you're going to talk it, then walk it, and they're not willing to walk it. It doesn't appear. Now, maybe they'll surprise us sometime between now and Thursday, John, but I think the reporting sort of suggests that they're more likely to not.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate for you now. Devil's advocate for you. Do you think if they were completely blow up Peter's legacy, wouldn't they be selling every player with an ounce of trade value for anything they could get, including salary relief? Like trade Manny Machado for a bad prospect.
Can't trade him.
What?
You can't, you keep trying to trade guys.
I know, no trade clause. I know. But wouldn't they be sellers? Wouldn't they be sellers? Just being like, hey, we got to get this money off the books. Wouldn't they be that instead of
didn't they trade Juan Soto? Didn't they allow, whether you agree with this or not?
But they're over the CBT.
Okay, but almost by default, they had to fill out a roster.
Yeah, I guess
I don't know that we'll sniff this one again. But, did they not allow Juan Soto to leave? Did they not allow Jurickson Profar to leave? Did they not go after other guys that were going to cost them a little bit more money and find some more affordable alternatives to construct this roster? Looks like they did to me. Like you just said it. There were guys, Manny was pointing this out, that there were guys that were available. And for it's not, it probably was financially related that they didn't bring some of these players in. So, I don't know. I certainly think that there's a couple of different ways that you can look at that. But I do see. Like, I just think it's going to be an interesting week. I suspect, that I don't know that we're heading towards a week where everybody's going to be, happy with what it is that the Padres do, or disappointed, or somewhere caught in the middle of it all.
Do you think? I mean, the problem.
All I know is Juan Soto's in town, so at least people can take out the frustration on him. Since people can't get over this Juan Soto trade 2 years later, people still want to just go to the ballpark to boo this guy for whatever reason.
I mean, but isn't it going to be funny when they're playing the Mets for the next few days, and then the trade deadline happens, and then they're playing the Cardinals, two teams that are in it for an NL playoff race, and if they make moves and the Padres don't make any, like, let's imagine the Padres make no moves. They don't trade for anyone. They don't trade away anyone. It's just the exact same team 5 days from now that it is now. But the Mets do something and the Cardinals do something. This fan base is going to freak out. They're gonna lose their minds just for the sake of comparison and seeing other teams that might be willing to spend money to try and win a World Series as opposed to hamstringing their general manager.
Or maybe people will say we've spent a ton of money, and maybe you should be a little bit better for the amount of money that you spent. Not that that there's always direct correlation between spending and success, especially in baseball. What was it a couple of years ago? Like 3 of the top 5 payrolls in all of the entire sport missed the postseason entirely, including the Padres. Yeah. So sometimes that stuff gets a little tricky. I know there's a bunch of different ways of looking at it, that no team in the bottom 5 or 10 or whatever has ever won, or however that's viewed. But maybe some would say, hey, listen, we've given him, and I'm okay with that as well. It's funny. I saw Buddy Black over the weekend. He was at Snapdragon Stadium for SDFC in Nashville. And I always said this about Buddy, because, when Buddy got fired here, people are like, oh, he used to come on the show every week. And, I always said, I thought he got treated fairly. I thought he was fine. He took over at a time where they really weren't spending any money. We do remember Buddy almost took a $35 million payroll team to the playoffs in 2010. That was crazy. Like Jeff Morad was the second highest paid player on the team. But, I always thought, you gave a guy a long run, you gave him a long window, and he was probably treated fairly here. He's probably treated fairly by the Rockies. A lot of other organizations would have pulled the trigger on that guy, not because they thought he was bad, just because they're like, we just got to do something.
Right.
It's not like the Rockies were some rocket ship ready for takeoff and Buddy was anchoring them down. Hardly the case. But, I do think that if we get to that point between now and the end of the regular season, would I think that he got treated fairly? I don't know. I mean, I would think that the circumstances there were just a little bit unfortunate, because I really think so much of Preller was what it was that Peter Seidler enabled him to do. But, we still have a couple of more months to go, and maybe he'll pull a rabbit out of his hat somehow, some way, by putting a prospect out there that some other organization likes, and he can bring in a player who, isn't one of the top trade targets out there, according to Jeff Passan or whomever, or Jim Bowden. And that guy can come in here, he can help, and the team can go on a little bit of a run, and it can go to the postseason, and we'll see where we're at the end of the year. Because with one more year on a contract, I would think, that's probably about a time where you're going to say, yes, we're going to move forward with him, or we're going to move on without him. But, this trade deadline, I think, is a pretty interesting subplot to Preller's future, and whether they will or won't give him the resources to get somebody is a part of that as well. So.
Good. That was the good generalization of the whole situation. I agree with everything that you said. I also wanted to, before we move on, I wanted to signal a Mike Schilt quote that I saw this morning in Kevin Acey's Padres Daily. I wanted to get your thoughts on it. This was a conversation about batters getting hit by pitchers. This was in after Manny Machado got hit twice by the Cardinals, and I forget which Contreras brother plays for the Cardinals, if it's Wilson or Williams or whatever. But this was Mike Schilt's quote on players getting hit by pitchers. Quote, I don't want to get on the soapbox or have this diatribe, but I do have a player development background. And even before player development, it's just taking place in amateur baseball now. It's all about velocity. It's all about spin rate. It's all about get it and rip it. and it's coming at the expense of being able to actually work on the art of pitching. And it's ultimately coming at the expense of some of our hitters, some of our better hitters. Understandably, we get it. We play some teams recently that still throw in, but they do it the right way. You know, they're missing 6-8 inches in. It's more middle of the body to the lower body, moving feet. Got no problem with that. Understand it. But it's not teaching. It's not a teaching that's taking place in our game, and there's no real accountability to it. A, what the hell is he trying to say? And B, is he saying that he doesn't want pitchers that grip it and rip it and throw hard and have high spin rates? Because that doesn't feel... That feels like the type of commentary that should be coming out of a front office as far as, evaluating talent and the types of things you want. We always heard AJ probably loves loud tools, and part of that is pitchers that throw really hard with really high spin rates. What is he talking about?
I don't know.
Why is the manager commenting on not wanting the guys who throw hard? And like, is he saying teams shouldn't be throwing inside? Like, I don't know. It just it struck me as a very weird quote from a manager.
Yeah, I don't, and who even knows? I suppose you have to hear the question and the context of the answer. And maybe that wasn't every last word that he said. So maybe there's a little bit more to it than what was printed. Why was that even printed? I'm not sure. Who's benefiting from another confusing quote from Mike Shildt? Anybody?
He did have a part before that I left out where he said, someone's got to stand up for our hitters in this game. It's too many guys getting hit, too much risk, too many guys getting hit up and high. That's people's livelihoods, man. Do you see?
So he's talking about Manny. So Manny got hit up and in. I will admit, Saturday and Sunday I was not glued, or Friday and Saturday I was not glued to the television. I did see some of the highlights. I wondered what it was that was going on there, why they hit Contreras a couple of times. I didn't know if there was a backstory there. It seemed like that's what started things, and then they decided to hit Manny a couple of times. And
Contreras gets hit all the time. And when he got hit by Randy Vasquez, he turned to Randy Vasquez, fired up, and Randy Vasquez did the literal hand on the chest, my bad.
Isn't that also that's what Pivetta did first, right?
Yes,
on
yeah.
Friday,
although Pivetta, Contreras got like a angry bull was staring down Pivetta, and Pivetta was like, "Don't look at me. Take your
yeah." I mean, it hurts to get hit.
Right.
I don't blame these guys for having a reaction.
I don't blame him for being mad. And he got mad at Pivetta because Pivetta was like, get out of here. But and Vasquez was more like, that's my bad. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. But they got him on the wrist. Manny got hit on the elbow. I understand. And they're not trying to hit these guys. They're hitting them by accident. It's like, these are your own guys, Mike. Are you telling them to stop throwing high and in? That's the. Have you talked to the pitching coach about this? I don't know. It just It felt like Mike Shildt going out on a limb. He started with the thing going I'm not going to go into a diatribe. And then he got up on his soapbox and went into a diatribe that really seemed to go.
Yeah, it sounds like, the Cardinals guys. Those guys always want to lecture everybody about how to do everything. Tony La Russa did it for 1,000,000 years, and Mike Shildt was in that organization for 30 years. So, those guys always want to pretend like they know better than everybody else about how the game is supposed to be played. And don't think for a single second that Mike Shildt has completely shed his St. Louis Cardinals skin, because he has not. I even think part of that was factoring into him on the field on Saturday, I want to say it was, and you could see he kind of joking around and all that sort of stuff. So, he always would consider himself a Cardinal. To me, I think, deep down, I suspect he probably would love to be the manager of the Cardinals, but that's just my own 2-bit psychoanalysis from where it is that I sit.
My favorite thing, and I should find a screen grab of it and make it like my blue sky avatar or something, is Manny gets hit. He starts yelling at the umpire. Cardinals coaches start yelling at him, and then the dugouts come out, and the Padres dugout unloads onto the field, and it's every Padres player coming out, but first, the very first person coming out, going as fast as walking as fast as he can, is Mike Shildt. And I was like, I don't understand. Mike Shildt's like, we're going to go get in a brawl, boys. Come on. It felt very silly on
it did. And whatever Miami weirdness is going on between John Jay and Manny Machado is not too interesting to me.
Yeah.
That's a Miami boys thing, isn't it?
I think so.
That's a 305 area code thing. If you're not from the 305, then I don't know that you're allowed to have an opinion about that beef.
Yeah, I think AC was like, yeah, John Jay runs with, the Hosmer, Manny, Yonder, Alonso crew, or
Right.
at least he was thought to, and that was where, after the game I was like, hey, I think AC asked him, like, I thought you and John Jay were like friends. Like, no, I know who he really is. He doesn't want me to tell everyone who whatever. It's all horseshit. It's like, I'm actually kind of happy that Manny deleted his Instagram, and it's a little bit of it is theater. But I used to love when LeBron James would get like a month out from the playoffs and he would just be like, no more social media for me until after the playoffs. And it's like, I think that's right. Like, you don't need to focus on other things. Once it's game time, it's game time. So I'm actually okay with it. But let's talk about the other team in town.
By the way, John Jay's dad, I think this was pointed out on the Discord channel, and it set me down looking for it today that his dad was put in prison for almost 2 decades. So if you ever saw the documentary Cocaine Cowboys, like John Jay's dad was like one of those smugglers.
It's fantastic.
So, yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of South Florida, man. It's like there's a lot going on down there.
I know.
So I will just say that's a 305 thing. I'm gonna skip it. I'll just stay out of that one as well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, like I said, the Mets are in town, so everybody can go take their frustrations out at Juan Soto, since apparently nobody can get over that one. Although I always thought, like was Soto really the biggest problem in that clubhouse, or was there a closer there that really didn't want to do anything that the team asked him to do? That guy never receives even a fraction of the hate that Soto does, but whatever. That guy also didn't sign for $700 and whatever million.
He was also really good when he pitched. Like, Juan Soto, I feel like, didn't really live up to some expectations as far as his offensive production. Josh Hader was that good when he pitched.
Okay, but
he pitched, yes.
Yeah, I mean, he
understand.
and Snell also made up their own rules, or at least Soto went out there and played every game. So,
yeah,
and led the team in every offensive category. But
the Mets have won 7 straight. They get Dylan Cease tonight, 3 days before the trade deadline, and then Yu Darvish tomorrow, 2 days before the trade deadline. This is going to be 2 big, important games for the Padres for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's amazing that we're sitting here talking about Preller potentially trading Dylan Cease and or Jake Cronenworth, and we're like, well, you better figure out a way to make this team better.
I know. I know.
Like, or at the end of the year, off with his head. All right, I thought a very entertaining game on Saturday night at Snapdragon Stadium. SDFC beats Nashville, the most informed team that we have seen playing against SDFC all season, and I can back that up with all sorts of numbers. They had won 2 straight. They had won 6 out of 7. They had 1 loss dating back to April. They had 3 All-Stars, 2 of whom got subbed off in this game, which I thought was interesting, including the MLS co-leading goal scorer. He got subbed off in the 72nd minute.
He was not happy about it.
Very frustrated. He was slamming water bottles out there on the bench. SDFC did a really, really nice job on Saturday night, or Friday night, I should say. Friday night fit well. It was a good crowd, good energy in the building. 1-0 victory over Nashville. Goal from Chucky Lozano, and it did feel like if you were listening to us in the first half, we were saying Chucky's going to score in this one. Like it just, you could see it coming. It was an interesting chess match, I thought, in the first half. I think on Discord I compared it to a boxing match where a couple of the really good fighters are just feeling each other out for the first couple of rounds before they decide exactly what it is and how it is that they're going to approach the rest of the fight. Chess, moving the pawns around a little bit. SDFC was really, really patient, trying to do what they were trying to do, trying to draw in Nashville, which is not a pressing team. You thought maybe they would change their approach because you're looking at what was the youngest back line in MLS history, but they were true to themselves. They didn't do it, and SDFC figured out a way eventually to get behind the line a couple of times. It's been said over and over again about the 3 All-Stars that combined for the goal, from Yepe, the beautiful dummy from Chucky to Anders. You have the league leader in interceptions in Yepe, and he intercepts in the middle of the field. The league leader in passes completed, who completes a beautiful pass to Anders Dreyer, who's the league leader in assists, who then drops off an assist to Chucky Lozano, who scores, and it makes it 1-0. Also on that play, right before it, give credit to Oscar Verhoeven and Ian Pilcher, who were chasing Hani Mukhtar away from goal. It looked like they were going to have a little bit of success to me. I took my eyes off the ball because I saw Surridge starting to go towards goal. I saw Manu Dua turning around and running towards goal, and I thought that was going to be the development of the play. But instead, the two defenders pushed Hani Mukhtar away from goal, who's a really, really good player, former MVP. He tries to thread the needle, and Yepe gets in the way of it, passes it to Dreyer to Chucky, Galazzo, and you end up winning 1-0. And that's a great way to end the home stretch. It was disappointing, no doubt. And what can you say about Pablo Cisniega? Probably the man of the match. I understand why you give it to Chucky Lozano. Could have easily given it to Pablo. He was outstanding. Clean sheet for the first time in a couple of years for him. They've only allowed 3 goals in their last 4 matches, which is a really, really big deal considering the previous 4 matches they had allowed 11. I'm not saying that's all on the goalkeeper. I'm saying that's just a renewed focus on goal prevention. So I thought that was a really, really fun Friday night at Snapdragon Stadium and a good way to get into the break now, and we'll see what the approach is for Leagues Cup starting on Tuesday.
Yeah. First things first, like Mikey Varas has shown a penchant for riding the hot hand. We thought that he might with Pablo Cisniega. He did, and I agree with you that Chucky got the man of the match, and my first thought was I would have given it to Pablo. He was outstanding. Also, bless your heart, Darren. You went through that whole thing and didn't once complain about the goal they stole from Dreyer at the end, which they absolutely stole from Dreyer at the end, and that's annoying. It doesn't mean anything. It's just annoying. And you know, if I can take a moment over here and say, I don't think anyone in MLS knows what to do or what to expect from Manu Dua. Like, it just seems like guys think they're going to be able to get away from him, and then they can't. Or they feel like they can stop him in one direction, he goes the other, they're shocked. He's still, even though he's getting a little bit more conservative with his passes, he's doing less of the long balls up to the front to try and get Chucky going, and more of feeding it into a midfielder who can then feed it up to the front line. He's just so surprisingly good and so creative in what he does, and faster than you think and quicker than you'd expect. And it's funny, you look at the ratings for each player, and it's very easy to come away from this game and be like, Luca De La Torre and Tomas Angel were not very good. And that's true. They weren't great. And the reason they stood out as not great is everyone else on the team had a great game. Everyone. And if you look at the front line for Nashville, their front line was, like you said, they're great players, former MVP, an all-star, MLS leader and goals scored. They did not look good because the back line was so good and the keeper was so good and everyone was so good, with the exception of Angel and Luca De La Torre. And Luca just looks, everyone keeps saying he looks tired. I think I would agree with that. He just looks like he needs a little bit of a break. He also came back from, he left for international duty and came back kind of different players, which is understandable. And Tomas Angel, I think, is just, I don't think he's a starter, but just a great, like, SDFC is such a great team. Like, that's the thing. It's hard for us to see it because we don't watch all the MLS. At least I don't watch all the MLS. But every game I get more and more convinced of, like, this isn't just a, like, first year they got hot, no one knows what they're doing. Like, they're just a great team that plays a really entertaining style. And when they can do it against another team that's this good, you realize, like, oh, this has lasting potential. Like, they just might be this team from day one going forward until something drastically changes about the roster. Which, there's no more transfer rumors swirling around, are there?
Well, it's funny. Since you and I have been recording this, they've actually made 2 announcements. So,
hey.
But I think that these are announcements that people anticipated. So they have officially announced that Pedro Soma has been added to the roster, and David Vasquez from Philadelphia Union has been added officially to the roster. So Aiden Harangi was available but not selected. He was warming up. Saw him after the match. He was running around, and I don't know that is the situation. As much as Mikey likes tossing them into the deep end, I don't know that the Nashville game towards the end there is exactly what you're going for. But I'm interested in David Vasquez. He's a player I will admit I don't know a ton about. But just seeing the reaction from some of the Philadelphia Union fans online, it's like, how did we mismanage this one? And I guess the thing I didn't realize here, I thought this was just going to be a straight loan, but let me make sure that I'm reading this right from SDFC, because they just put this out again while you and I were chatting here, and it is David. Permanent trade option. Yeah. San Diego announced today the club has acquired midfielder David Vasquez on loan through 2025 with a permanent trade option from the union in exchange for $50,000 in GAM, general allocation money, and 2025, 2026. High potential player, fits the way we want to play, creative in the final third, comfortable between the lines, shown the ability to create, final pass shot. Excited to bring him closer to home. He's from Los Angeles. 19, another teenager being added into the mix. I did not realize. I thought this was just going to be a loan, and I would think now when you see that the option is there to buy, he's represented the U.S. under 17, under 19, under 20. I don't know what's going to happen with the under 20 World Cup in September and October. I don't know how many of these players are going to go off and play in the World Cup in Chile, I think it is. So, but with a trade permanent option, that is not what I thought. Pedro Soma also has been announced. So he's another teenager, had been playing in Spain, was on loan with Barcelona B, which of course meant everybody thought I would know a lot about him. I don't. I just haven't spent a ton of time watching Barca B, but welcome to the mix. He's another young player who has represented the U.S. at the youth levels as well. Although I think he had a couple of options, maybe dual national, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm not quite clear on his situation. But no, in terms of like, are they going to bring in? I saw right before we came on that LAFC has intensified its talks with your guy Son from Tottenham. I saw that obviously Rodrigo de Paul is going to go to Miami. I saw that I think Seattle was in the mix for somebody. So, things are happening here with some big name players.
Yeah.
That are coming across, but it doesn't seem like we've heard any of that. I think it was Thomas Muller maybe going to Seattle.
Yeah, I think I saw our buddy Jeremiah Oshan posting about that,
which is interesting at that age that you're going to go let that guy play on turf. But I don't know, just a quick thought on that. So I think this is probably going to be about what it is. I think it's probably going to be a little bit more of the on the younger side. We'll see if there's another surprise in store between now and when the window closes in August. But, we'll see also how much these guys get involved and how quickly they get involved, and if it's during Leagues Cup. Let me ask you this. How much of a priority should Leagues Cup be for SDFC? Should they go all out here trying to win this thing? Or is it like, maybe we don't need to play Yepe 90 minutes every single game. Maybe we could give Ani a little bit of a break here since he's on the longest run of minutes played of anybody, and he's been great at it. I wonder what the approach is. I truly don't know. I asked Tyler that question on record a couple of weeks back. He's like, well, I guess we'll just have to see where we're at in terms of injuries and such. But adding some reinforcements, I'm truly curious what the approach is going to be for Leagues Cup. Some teams look at it and they're like, this thing's kind of a nuisance. Let's just play the games, get it out of the way, and then focus on a regular season. And that's both Liga MX clubs and MLS clubs that have done that. They say, like, we want to win everything. If we're in the U.S. Open Cup, we want to win the Open Cup. If we're going to be in Leagues Cup, we want to win Leagues Cup. So I don't know exactly what the approach is going to be. I'm not ever going to suggest that they're not trying to win, but are they going to go all out to win this? Or is it an opportunity to say, okay, we can try some other things here, and our real focus is on Kansas City when we get back into league action on August 9th?
Well, for a team that is in their first year in Major League Soccer and top of the table, and doesn't have the two squad, the academy or whatever to fill in, I imagine that depth and health is going to be more important to them than the money that they could win in Leagues Cup. So yeah, I would probably play more of these guys that don't get a lot of playing time, these younger kids that maybe have been not really getting starts lately, and give some of the guys who have a lot of miles on them a game or two off. This could be an easy way to get CJ Dos Santos back on the field and keep Pablo Cisniega ready for the next MLS matchup or whatever. I would probably play it that way because I just looked it up. the total prize money for the Leagues Cup is $40 million, but that is distributed based upon games. So the further you go along, the more games you play, the more money you make. And I think it said if you go all the way to the end and you win the championship, you essentially get $2 million. That doesn't seem like a ton. So, especially for a team that is, run by or owned by, I think a billionaire. So I would probably veer on the side of what's going to help their MLS future for this season rather than going all out for Leagues Cup. But that's just me being probably a little bit conservative.
Yeah, the winner gets a little bit of money, gets a trophy. So you could say, like there are some teams, I remember when I was preparing for Chicago Fire a couple of weeks ago, they were prioritizing the U.S. Open Cup because they felt like that was the best chance that Fire had of winning a trophy this season.
Right.
They just didn't think it was a team that was going to navigate a regular season in its first year under Greg Berhalter, navigate a MLS postseason. So they felt like, hey, this is our thing. We've won this 4 times. This is an opportunity for us to win it a 5th time. It's meaningful for our fans, so let's go in on this. They ended up getting bounced by Minnesota United. So I understand why teams prioritize these other tournaments. If you don't really think you're going to have what it takes to get through it. But I do wonder this also. Like you're not only competing in 2025, John, and again, I'm hesitant to bring this up, but SDFC is sitting there now, and they are, and this is always dangerous to say, that you're on pace for such a thing. But with 9 regular season matches to go, at 14 wins, 7 losses, and 4 draws, 4 more wins out of your remaining 9 gets you to the all-time expansion record for wins in the season.
That matters.
I think that matters.
Yep.
I think that's a good goal. And it also will get you 12 more points, which would set not only the wins record, but also the all-time points record for an expansion team as well. So are those goals worth going for? I think so. 4 wins, and I'm just going 4 wins here. I don't want to do the math about how many draws it would take and all that sort of stuff. But you would need 12 points to get to break LAFC's 2018 record, and 4 wins would break the 2023 record from St. Louis City. So I think, you're not only competing against Vancouver and Minnesota, you are, and probably the priority, but to be able to say that you're the most successful expansion club of all time in terms of wins and points, to me is pretty tasty. I mean, that's a nice carrot at the end of the stick if you're asking this guy.
Yeah, no, I agree. And also just, looking forward in terms of going for the MLS, SDFC just played a lot of home games in a short period of time, which means there's going to be a lot of road games coming up.
3 out of 3 and 6, 3 home, 6 away.
Yeah, and it looks like coming right out of the gate, August 9th, they're going to be playing in Kansas City on August 9th. That does not sound like that's going to be a fun place to play on August 9th.
Probably pretty hot and sticky.
Yeah,
you're not even in Missouri. You actually have to go to Kansas for that one.
After that, there's San Jose, they're LA, they're fine. There is a game in Houston on October 4th, but that's fall, and I don't even know if that's an outdoor stadium. So
no, they've already played in Houston. They're not going back there.
Do I have this backwards? Is this at Snapdragon Stadium? I get so
confused.
confused.
Oh, no, maybe you're right. No. I'm sorry. That's
Shell
my
Energy
bad. I was
Stadium.
thinking about Dallas. You're right. I'm wrong.
They lost at home to Houston, right?
I just said that. Yep. My bad.
That's all right. But yeah, they have some they have a lot of road travel coming up once this Leagues Cup is over, and some of it in very hot, sticky environments. So yeah, I would rest your guys and make sure that everyone's ready for the MLS postseason, because that would be exciting. I did laugh earlier when you said you hope that Snapdragon Stadium didn't book any concerts for October for the MLS postseason, and just completely flew by the fact that San Diego State football will exist.
All right. Well, how soon can we get that Chula Vista Stadium built?
Do you have anything else, or can I throw like a 1-minute question at you?
No, let's go for it.
Because this one hurt me. This one stung me. Did you happen to see the cover of Men's Health magazine?
You sent it. Yeah, I saw that you posted it, that it is a slimmed down Luka Doncic.
It says Luka Doncic muscles up, the skinny on the Lakers star summer shred. and then a picture of him looking more in shape than he has looked since he entered the league when he was like 18 years old. I'm so mad. Like as soon as this trade happened, every Mavericks fan said the exact same thing. Worst case scenario is he goes to the Lakers and in the offseason he gets on like a real workout regimen, cleans up his life, cleans up his act, and comes back the player that we always dreamed he could be. If that's what's actually happening here and it's not just men's health, trying to make him look awesome in the gym, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to absolutely lose my mind. And I think this is actually pushing me further and further away from potentially being a continuing Dallas Mavericks fan. It was like, I just don't need that pain. I don't need to remember what he was with the Mavericks versus, okay, he goes to the Lakers and now he's shredded and healthy and not getting injured and not getting tired. Maybe he won't even fight with the refs anymore, Darren.
Maybe. Yeah. It's a whole new Luka. It's like dating Jeff Bezos when he was just this nerd. Now you're looking at him and you're like, look at that guy now. What happened there? Guy's worth more billions than anybody else on planet Earth, and
right.
Knows how to dress. He's got a little sense of style to him. What was the deal? Come, I didn't get that version of that guy.
Didn't wait long enough.
Did not, indeed. All right. Well, as I mentioned, so we have a couple of guests lined up for later in the week. We'll tell you about it coming up tomorrow. But if you listen to this and want to chime in, you can do it on the Discord channel. Hit us up on social media. John is mostly on Blue Skies these days, although I'm spending a little bit of time. I'm thinking about reinstalling X to my phone.
I have it on mine. I go on X every so often, and it's usually fun for about 10 minutes, and then I bump into the part of it that's not. And I'm like, ugh, that's why I'm not here anymore.
Yeah. What part of it is not fun?
The part that you just I only run it from the Section 1904 account, so I only want to see stuff that relates to San Diego or relates to local sports. And it's like if you just stick around for 10 minutes, all of a sudden the algorithm just starts feeding you like Elon Musk's political beliefs, and you get push notifications from JD Vance that you never asked for because you don't even follow him, and then everyone's asking Grok to not be a Nazi, and it's like it just gets really uncomfortable really fast. As soon as you run out of like the Padres content and it tries to grab for something else, or the SDFC content and tries to grab for something else, it gets really gross really fast.
Yeah, the Grok stuff is always what gets me when you try to see what the commentary is on any given post. It's like, hey, Grok, what does this mean? It's like, I will confess to having done that one time when I went on television with Darren Tripp and I asked to evaluate my outfit, and I got a compliment from Grok. So I'm going to leave my experience with Grok there. It was positive, and it's over. So we'll move on. All right, so Padres, and we'll see. Again, trade deadline, I sort of asked around a little bit. I don't know that anything's going to happen right up until the deadline. I think that's the whole point of the deadline, is it forces the action. But I suspect, John, that we're probably not going to have much to talk about for the remainder of today. Tomorrow, it sounds like things are going to go up until the last minute. So
they got to wait and see what Darvish looks like on Tuesday, Darren, just like I talked about last week. It's all riding on you.
It's all riding on you. Yeah. Thank you, everybody out there, for supporting Section 1904, and we'll do it again tomorrow.